Amigos, worldwide fans of cinema, and welcome to Zootopia review on Enfuegotainment. Yeah, we're having a good time with it here. I'm Jaime En Fuego.
I'm Cecil, Laird.
Yeah, we're gonna bring you a little bit more of good, bad, and ugly, the Bueno, the Malo, and the Feo about this newest Disney blockbuster that like set a March record.
Yes.
It's got like an insane rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It's like 99%. I think only 2 critics did not just adore this movie.
Zootopia, a gleaming city where animals of all breeds, predator and prey alike, live together in peace and harmony.
Hi, I'm Judy, your new neighbor.
Yeah? Well, we're loud.
Don't expect us to apologize for it.
ZPD's first rabbit officer, Judy Hopps.
You ready to make the world a better place?
I only knew about the reviews barely going into it, ahead of the day of. I didn't know how good of reviews it was getting, but, you know, it kind of deserved it.
Yeah, I'd say so too. There was a lot of Bueno. There was a tiny bit of Malo, so a little bit of bad, and then some ugly. I mean, we can always find something there for the Feo. So, Bueno, first and foremost, the animation looked amazing. It's from the same guys who did Big Hero 6. They did Frozen. So, everything amazing coming from Disney is not just Pixar anymore, which is what's kind of cool.
Absolutely, and it was an anthropomorphic fan's dream because it was just nothing but humanized animals in all shapes and sizes living together, dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Living in a... it's raining them sometimes. And this is the Zootopia. It's a utopia of all this prey and predator living together harmoniously, which is what they kind of... Well, we can leave some of the allegorical references until later in the review, but yeah, it's just kind of an interesting reflection of our society and what they were trying to say here. Yeah,
exactly. It's everyone getting along together as best they can in sort of a post-reality where all of the conflict has sort of been resolved in some way, shape, or form.
Seemingly, because that's what's totally happening with humans, right?
Absolutely. Basically, the story revolves around this Detective Hopps, who, ever since she was a little bunny, has wanted to be a police officer, and everyone kind of laughed at her for it.
Voiced by the girl from Once Upon a Time with that short hair. She's foxy.
She's really good, too, in this movie. She was...
or she's hoppy, I should say.
Tremendously enjoyable. And she finally makes it to the big city. And when she gets there and becomes a cop and is assigned to like the centralized police station #1.
Yeah, but they're like, you're a tiny little bunny, so, and she's there with like these huge bulls and, you know,
oxen, things like that.
The chief is voiced by Idris Elba, which is kind of cool, you know, bringing a little bit of menace and sending her on parking duty, which is kind of funny. So the writing was another Bueno. I thought it was quirky in the fact that it showed these like social stereotypes, but they gave them some interesting animal incarnations, right?
Absolutely, and it was really funny to see sort of what kind of animal they had doing what kind of thing, you know, that laid for some of the humor in the movie.
Indeed.
And it was fun as a result, but mostly you got to focus on Detective Hopps and one of the people she runs across in her first day on duty as a traffic cop, and that is the cunning fox played by Jason Bateman.
Yeah, and he's a hustling fox. He's actually living up to those stereotypes that she's heard about foxes, because just like people, animals stereotype each other too, especially in this modern utopia society of theirs.
Absolutely. And he ends up being a grifting fox. And that kind of leads to one of my
your
big
favorite
Buenos.
jokes.
Exactly.
So good.
This one is the fact that when she first encounters this fox, Nick, I believe was his name.
Yeah.
He has a little sidekick. And this little sidekick is this little baby fennec fox that looks really adorable. Big huge ears and a little pacifier. And it's a tremendously effective grifting technique. And then when Detective Hopps sees them later on, she sees that not all is as it seems. And it was one of the funniest things in the movie for me.
Yeah, the voiceover work especially. And some other really amusingly Bueno voiceover work is hearing guys like Tommy Chong in there in one particular scene.
Oh, you are naked.
For sure, we're a naturalist club.
All the way down.
Oh. Lots of other great stuff. J.K. Simmons as the mayor was actually kind of funny when he was jumping in as the lion here and there. And so, yeah, I mean, there was enough as far as the great talent that they brought on to assist with putting the character in these characters, you know, and actually making them feel like not just animals, but real people, real, you know, captivating stuff to keep your eyes on.
As it went along, it got a little bit more deep into some issues, which kind of could be a segue into the Malo.
It could be.
A couple of one other little.
Not for the nod of the script, though. You know.
Exactly. The thing is, there's some, as Fuego mentioned, there's some allegorical stuff that they did that basically ties into the fact that, you know, it's anti-racism and it's anti-exclusionary. Everyone should be working together.
Yeah, Hops got lots of ridicule as a kid for wanting to be this policewoman, and not just a policewoman, but also a little rabbit that's actually, you know, supposed to be policing around these ginormous creatures in contrast with her. And so, you know, everybody has to have their fair share, but it's very societally reflective for us.
Yes, very much so. And I did actually want to mention the story within the story, because going into the movie, I thought it was going to be one thing, but when I actually watched it, I realized that the true plot of the movie was a little bit different, and that is based on the society that we've seen where predator and prey are living together. There's a police procedural where some predators are going savage and attacking other prey as they would out in the wild, and so Detective Hops has taken it upon herself to try and figure out why, despite being asked or told explicitly not to.
Yeah.
And that was a strong point for me.
Yeah, and that's actually, you know, really one of the main and only plot threads. And that is the one thing that I can say is, beyond being the procedural kind of detective story and stuff, there wasn't as much beyond the allegory, and so maybe that could be a Malo a bad thing. And when they were trying to really be funny and different and ironic and really just kind of poke fun at those kind of stereotypes, I thought the film worked. It did not work when it was just giving itself over to those conventions to keep the movie, you know, going forward story-wise and stuff. So when they were poking fun at the stereotypes, it was great. When they had to buy into them to make things move forward, that was where I felt like they lost some steam, at least for me. So that's really the only bad that I can think of. It really lives up to that high critic rating. It was a lot of fun. It was beautifully made. I don't really have a lot of negative things to say about it. And you know me, I can always find something grasping at straws to really pick apart. And this one, I didn't have as much to say.
That's true. Well, for me, there was really only one thing, and that's that with an idea as rife with possible comedy available to it, with all these, so you got predator and prey living together in a very humanoid societal situation. There's a lot of jokes that could have been told, even visual jokes. As the characters are walking through a scene, you can have, you know, a giraffe lean down and low five another small, you know, marmot creature that reaches up and high fives the low
some
five.
real thought to this.
Yeah, you know, there's just some fun little jokes that you could have with the predator and prey living together, and I think they missed out on some of that opportunity to just. The movie was good, but I think it could have been fantastic had they had some extra humor in it. So that's the only Malo I can.
I can agree with that too. It was a little more serious at the end of the day. I would suspect though that possibly they were holding some of that humor for later entries, because this is going to be a series at this point. Yeah, exactly. With the money that it made, and you know, debuting on the top of the box office, and you know, all these records that it set. I think it even toppled Frozen for the biggest animated non-Pixar debut.
Maybe, but it still took almost 2 years after Frozen came out before they technically said a sequel was going to be coming. So you never know. You never know.
You never know. So maybe that would be a Feo thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be a Feo if we have to wait that many years to see a sequel to this, especially with this kind of critic rating. I doubt that's going to happen. Feo for me is obviously the allegorical thing that we kind of hinted upon, and this is where we're going to just go full into it. It was very reflective of certain racial tensions right now about, you know, just assuming certain people are predisposed to violence, certain animals are predisposed to violence. That was the correlation that they made, and the bad guy ends up being not exactly the particular species or gender that you would immediately anticipate.
Exactly, and so heavy-handed was the allegory here, was that of all the animals that we saw, and they're all supposed to be zoo animals, I did not see featured anywhere. There might have been some background ones, but featured anywhere I did not see any monkeys.
The closest to the humans.
Yes, the closest to the humans, and unfortunately something that is used as a derogatory comparison in a lot of our countries past. And so I think they might have been going so much with the racism allegory that they just took that out altogether as to not spark any controversy in saying that this person is like this kind of animal or anything like that. So that would be one of the uglies, is the amount of thought that they probably had to put into something like that, because our society has gotten to the point where that much thought needs to be put into something like that.
Yeah, indeed it does. And that's because, I mean, maybe we live in one of the stranger times, you know, at least in my particular memory as far as tensions, but yet when a reaction is seeping into this type of art, I think it's really just profoundly saying something that, yeah, this world needs to be changed for the better, as opposed to segueing further into more negativity. And I think art like this is really important because it even makes kids think, you know, and hopefully hopefully there's no guarantees of that, but not to be predisposed to just make those presumptions as often. So
absolutely,
yeah, good job, Disney. Thanks for making us more socially conscious. We do appreciate it. I've been Jaime En Fuego, and we're gonna bring this to an adjournment for our coverage here. I gotta extend a grande gracias to Cecil Laird for assisting me with this one.
Thank you very much for having me, sir.
Indeed,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a much more it was a much more somber tone. You can always find us doing the horror show at the Horror Show channel on YouTube, and then myself at Jaime En Fuego on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube here. So I gotta say, hasta luego, sin amigos.